You're now live.
Hello there. Thank you for joining us. This is the Ruddi Bruce broadcast. You focus on the truth, I focus on the facts. People of Canada, your voice will speak a million strong. If we come together and fight what's going on, we got homeless people living in tents. Be compassionate, do not judge, because 200,000 of us are using food banks. Where's the pride? Where's the pride? Where's our money we slave for? They cover it up. The working man is living poor. Rudy has true leadership, speaking for the ones who are tired of this shit. Make the government officials get a grip, or everyone loses the respect. Something's wrong, open your eyes. They tell us lies. You're blinded to this and mowing your lawn. United, we stand, divided, we fall. The time will come, the day is near, we will all march. So listen with your ears. We are not zombies or fresh meat. Let's grind up the government, make compost for the maple trees. Let's bend the deaths of the ones who have fallen. Coronavirus, opioid. We're still trying. They thought they got away scot-free. We will get the last laugh. Just wait and see. These talks we had on the broadcast will provide and guide. Let's do it fast. Taxpayers believe we live strong and free. Everyone does. Are you shitting me? Round of applause to you and yours for tuning in. We're opening doors. This is the real movement, people. Let's stand up, Canada, before we lose. We're still trying. They thought they got away scot-free. We'll get the last laugh. Just wait and see. These talks we have on the podcast will provide the guide. Let's do it fast. Taxpayers believe we live strong and free. Everyone does. Are you kidding me? Applause to you and yours for tuning in. We're opening doors. This is the real movement. People that stand up Canada before we lose it.
Welcome. Welcome back to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's been quite a week, to say the least. We've had some interesting developments with our patriot, Elliot. I'm sure most of you know Elliot, and they have seized his property. And it's been an ongoing battle for that guy, and he did some lives, and after doing the lives, a number of other people had been phoning him and letting him know that yes, they're on the same list, same thing. You miss a couple of payments, and they go and take your farm. Unbelievable things that are going on in our country. And we also have the ostriches as well going on. It's quite incredible that, you know, they just seem to want to take everything in Canada. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, um, we're doing show number 3 on what went wrong with the convoy, why it turned out the way it did. We have a guest in today, another guest. His name is Danny Martin, and let's bring in Danny Martin, okay? There he is, Danny Martin. How you doing,
Hey,
Danny?
good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Um, why don't you just fill the audience in on your involvement with the whole convoy thing?
Well, I've been a trucker for over 25 years and I supported the convoy. But when I saw in the early stages when Pat King and Tamara were involved, I put on Twitter to support the truckers, but don't support the grifters and be careful with anybody running a GoFundMe or fundraiser because you don't know where that money is going and there's not going to be any accountability for it. And I know Tamara was making a lot of videos saying that she had a committee that she had to seek approval for any spending, and of course, it didn't take her long to get rid of that. So, um, and then once it started to happen, I mean, I think it started to turn into a shit show, and the convoy went on longer than what it should have. And towards the end, they had a deal with the mayor to kettle the remaining truckers and trap them on Wellington, and so really everyone that was in Ottawa had police liaisons. So it turns out they had warning or were given indication that there was going to be these mass arrests. So my involvement with this. I was watching, like even Pat King back in 2019 was when he was involved in the United We Roll, and that was a bit of a shit show as well. So um, I have a background with investigations and loss prevention, and so yeah, I was a little concerned because when you have people with piggy banks and donations and anyway, so for the last couple of years, I've been running a Facebook page called Freedom Accountability, and kind of been exposing a lot of these hucksters.
Okay, let's go into Tamara Leach's involvement from your understanding of what she's all about.
Well, Tamara is an oil and gas activist. I believe primarily she's basically a Greta Thunberg of the right. So she was involved with Wexit. She was involved with United We Roll. She was involved with Yellow Vest and Medicine Hat. And then, of course, when she got involved with Convoy, she was involved with something called TBOF, for Taking Back Our Freedoms, which was created by a couple of conservative political strategists. And she even called her fundraiser, Taking Back Our Freedoms fundraiser, for GoFundMe. So I was just watching that, and I thought, wait a second, we're going to see a lot of shady business. And when you start watching some of these fundraisers or whatever, and political operatives, I mean, I was with PPC for 4 years. I was a director at large, campaign manager, and director at large. So I knew then when I was bodyguarding Maxime Bernier in Edmonton and Calgary, I knew then of a lot of the snakes and provocateurs who were involved in protests and rallies. And so that's what I saw really what Tamara was involved in.
So she was also talking with Glenn Carrott as well, I take it.
Yeah, so Glenn ran United We Roll, and
Hmm.
Glenn, he had reached out to Chris Barber. And from what I understand, Glenn Garrett was the one who really kind of talked Chris Barber into doing the convoy. So I
Okay.
wasn't really watching too much of Glenn Garrett back in 2019, but I know that he was being accused of some financial monkey business, and people didn't know where the some of the funds were going, so there was missing money even then.
That was from the first convoy. Because he was on that one.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because I know about him. He was in on the first one, and he didn't want to wear his yellow vest as a sign of unity with that whole thing. I mean, it was kind of embarrassing in a way. But then there was missing funds as well on his convoy, on that
Yeah.
convoy. So Tamara
It
Lynch,
was even mainstream news.
it was what?
It was mainstream news. It was mainstream news at the time. You can still go back and see the mainstream news. I think it was CTV were asking him questions about this missing money.
Okay. And so she was in relation with Glenn Carrot. Now, what about Chris Barber? Where does he fit in this with them?
Well, Chris, from what I understand, I mean, it really the whole convoy started with Bridget Belton, and Bridget
That's right.
started to, she had did a TikTok video where she was being harassed at the border over her uh, over the restrictions and her not being vaccinated. So she was getting a hard time, and she was making videos on her being frustrated. So she thought, we should really do a convoy. So
Yeah,
it all
she was
started
the
out
original
as
starter of it. She was the original
yeah,
starter of the convoy, in my
yeah.
understanding. And she's going to be on the next show next Friday. Um, so where does Chris Barber come into this?
So she had reached out to Chris Barber, and Chris was, I guess, making a lot of videos or whatever. So she thought that he had a bit of a following on TikTok. So from what I understand, she kept talking to Chris Barber, and we should do something about this. And finally, he agreed to start to see if we can't do some kind of convoy. And then before I know it, there was a lot of other people who were hopping on board,
Mhm.
and that's when Chris and Tamara, or Pat and Tamara, had kind of reached out to. I think it was more Pat that he was kind of offering his social media outlet to help promote the convoy, and before you know it, he was more hopping on board with his Canada Unity and James Bowder. And then Tamara got involved, and she had reached out to Chris Barber, and when Bridget Belton found out about Tamara being involved, she didn't like that, and told Chris that Tamara shouldn't be involved. And Chris pretty much strong armed Bridget and said, "It doesn't matter what you like; she's coming regardless." Um, so yeah, that's he really got started with Bridget, but it was Chris who got Tamara involved, and then Tamara's step parents owned a pilot truck business. So I guess she got her step parents involved, and they decided to pilot the convoy. And then I guess Chris, to promote his business or whatever, had decided to be the lead truck. And
Mhm.
apparently, at multiple times during the convoy, one time even in Ontario, Chris was very last in the convoy, so everyone had to. They arranged for everyone to pull over and let Chris get back to the head of the convoy, um, because he knew Tamara, and Tamara being with her parents, and at certain points, Tamara was hopping out of Chris's truck, getting into the pilot truck with her step parents, and getting back into Chris's
Mhm.
truck. So
Oh, I see. Okay. So, but you never went to Ottawa though. You yourself.
no, no, I work locally as a trucker in Calgary. So at the time, I took a week off and
Mhm.
promoted the convoy on TikTok. at the time on TikTok, I even had more followers than Chris Barber, so I was using it to do lives every night. And I was getting updates from a couple of my friends who were involved in the convoy, and just really helping to promote it and, kind of put the good word about, because I mean, at the time, the mainstream media were painting people as, Nazis and white supremacists and this kind of crap. So,
Okay. So, where do you think it all went wrong?
well, I mean, I think first and foremost, they never should have went to Ottawa. It should have been a slow roll of the country. I think that a lot of the truckers who were involved had no idea who Chris Barber was, or who Tamara Leach was, or who Pat King was. And people got involved just to convoy. So people went out, joined the convoy, drove for a little while, and then turned around and went back home. So not everybody who was involved with convoy all went to Ottawa to line up in the streets. So I think that's where it went wrong, was the occupation or whatever in Ottawa.
You mean the overstay?
Because,
yeah,
I mean, like I from what I understood, I mean, I thought there was just originally, once they decided to go to Ottawa, I thought it was just supposed to be for a weekend and maybe break up on, the following Monday. But I thought, well, maybe it'll be like a 4-day kind of thing. But it ended up going way too long. And then when it really went wrong was when they flew out the JCCF and TBOF political operatives, the two lawyers with JCCF, who was it now? Eva Chipiuk and Keith Wilson. And that's when things really went to shit. And once lawyers got out there and they decided to prop up Tamara as the spark that lit the fire. And you could tell they were trying to kind of really take control of it. And Tamara was starting to cut people loose, and they were starting to really try to take control of the operation.
Yeah, I heard that a lot of that was going on. They went around to a lot of the truckers and stuff and said, we want all the communications coming through us now instead of the road captains and stuff like this. They wanted the whole, thing going through their little fingers kind of thing. Yeah, I understand that happened. Yeah.
Well, the idea was, I mean, there were good people who were involved, but there were people that were put on the back burner, and Bridget was involved, but it was Tamara that wanted to make these vital decisions having to do with truckers. And once Bridget found out, that's when the friction started between those two, because Tamara had no experience with trucking, no experience as a trucker, and she was making these decisions. But I think primarily the decisions were coming down from Keith Wilson anyway. And Tamara, you'll remember her reading scripts or whatever. They were all done up by Keith Wilson. So it's not like it was Tamara doing the big thinking and the big decision making. She was getting it, she was being really coached and told what to do. Plus there was, a lot of handlers. There were a lot of political operatives or politicians who were involved and behind the scenes telling them what to do or advising them.
Do you know anything about the money at all?
Actually, do you know who Russ Hebert is?
Russ Hebert, is that the accountant?
No, Russ Hebert was an MP. He used to be an MP under Stephen Harper. He was a political or a conservative staffer during the time of the convoy, and Russ Hebert was giving direction to Tamara Leach at the time, and that's now well known. So Tamara was getting communication from Russ Hebert, who was literally second in command or right under Stephen Harper still today. He's a huge Stephen Harper guy. Chris Barber was getting advised from his relative, former Saskatchewan Premier Brad Wall. That's his cousin, his wife's brother. And that's mainstream news. They were over 40 messages or 40 communications back and forth that we still don't know what exactly they're talking about. And for people that are concerned about the World Economic Forum, Stephen Harper's World Economic Forum, and Brad Waller is World Economic Forum. So we had political operatives all up and down this thing who were involved with making the decisions behind the scenes. So, I mean, really, even though it was Bridget who came up with the idea for the convoy, there were really people behind the scenes that were pulling the strings and making the decisions. As far as the money goes, well, how many fundraisers did Tamara have? There was the GoFundMe, there was the Give, Send, Go, there was any number of cash donations. There was she was accepting money directly into her e-transfers, and then when they got the Freedom Corp set up as a corporation or non-for-profit, then they could pay themselves a certain amount of money. You can pay yourself upwards of 40% as a administrative fee. So if they're raising $12 million and they decide to take 40% of that, you can do the math. So, they raised what? Almost, that we know of, closer to
over 20 million.
But
over 20 million.
Yeah, but most, thankfully, it was really a great thing that the money was seized and returned, or some is in escrow. And but yeah, so what happened to that money? I posted the bank statements that I pulled off the PWC website, so they were included as the evidence. So you can see there on Tamara's bank account records that at one point she transferred for herself from her, I believe it was from her checking to her savings. I think it was $140,000. What was that money for? Well, that was to pay herself as the administrative fee. And then when she got out of jail, she was in jail for 6 weeks. And then JCCF ran an additional fundraiser for her, saying that she couldn't pay the light bill. And they raised something like another $80,000 there. And, Chris got retainer for JCCF. Tamara got retainer for the Democracy Fund, which is Ezra Levant's swindle. And they've been doing Muppet shows up and down the country ever since the last 2 years. Fundraising for. And Ezra Levant just a couple days ago said that he was estimating Tamara's lawyer costs to be upwards of $1 million. And then the cost of the this lawsuit and everything to be closer to $5 million. So they're now talking about seizing Big Red. Who knows what else they're going to do with those two to try to, whether they're going to seize assets, seize property to try to recoup costs. But we have no idea how much these people have raised. You'll have no idea how much dark money, how much, even though their bank accounts were seized or whatever, eventually they got them back, but we will never really know what other money, how much they've raised from, or how much they're being paid for their various appearances. Chris Barber and Tamara Leach have both been overseas. I'm sure they got paid for that.
Yeah, it seemed to be quite a big money deal on that end of it. That they seem to have done quite well for themselves over this, and then the exposure, and then they love to boast. I know Chris Barber, he boasts quite a bit on TikTok, about this and that, and he's certainly got his opinions. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. I can't condemn him for that.
He's a bully. He's a bully, and they literally created something they called it Fight Club. It was the Canadian Freedom Resistance Movement or something. It was a group on Signal, and it was created by or run by Eva Chipiuk, who was the JCCF lawyer, and they self-admitted in that group that it was their job to bring in a bunch of these big right-wing social media influencers to help control messaging. And part of that messaging meant online targeted bullying and harassment. So people who weren't on board or who weren't Chris and Tamara supporters, they basically got attacked online. Just with me exactly a year ago, April 1st, I lost my home to a fire. I lost everything. I'm still dealing with RADS, which is reactive airways dysfunction syndrome. So I have lung disease. I have to take medicine daily for it because I went back into a burning building to help others get out. It was a big apartment fire in Calgary. Went back in to save my pets. And so Chris Barber, his father, Dan Barber, is a fire captain in their town in Saskatchewan. And Chris Barber had been bullying me online, saying that I started the fire, that it was me that did it, and that
Wow.
I did it to fundraise. And these are the tactics that these people use. When I lost my trucking job 2 years ago, Chris Barber was bullying me for that and making fun of me.
Wow.
I had exposed another con artist 10 years ago who was running a GoFundMe scam on murdered soldier Nathan Cirillo because I'm a veteran. And that scam artist, I managed to help get the GoFundMe shut down and her Facebook memorial page shut down. But it turns out that person who ran it is a big time cyberbully. And so anyway, Chris Barber and Tamara have both been in contact with that person to try to attack me with fake bullshit with that person. So these are the tactics that they do. They'll do anything to discredit you, attack you, smear you. So yeah, and I've been getting it steady from Chris for the last 2 years because I've been on to Chris. I realize the guy is a complete fraud and a con man, and I think he needs to be in jail.
Oh, he was really upset with me when he found out I was doing the show. And he lost it over the phone. He completely lost it with me on the phone. And I was giving him an opportunity to come on the show and explain his involvement, as well as Pat King. He was given the opportunity as well. And these fellers, they manipulate and, just try to steer it, down a road of bullshit. You know what I mean? Pat King tries to say I'm an alcoholic, eh? I'm nowhere near being an alcoholic. I don't drink every day, and it's not a crutch for me. Sure, I've done a few lives. I was a little inebriated, but after you do a broadcast for 10 years and you see the disappointment all the time, and it just gets to you, that kind of thing. But there's no alcoholism with me, but he likes to divert, that was Pat King. But like I said, I phoned Pat King and I phoned Chris Barber and all of them. This was in the first show that we did that Peter Turner should be there because he's a professional lobbyist. Okay. Well, they turned their back on Peter Turner. Okay. And then everything seemed to go right downhill after that. These guys were not professional in dealing with the government. Okay. It was absolutely a nightmare, in that regard. And you're right. The overstay, okay, was not going to accomplish anything, and then the hammer comes down on everybody. It was a disaster, okay? It should never have happened like it did. You know what I mean? What do you say on that?
Well, there were, this was supposed to go entirely different. They were, originally, they were working with politicians to come to an actual agreement and to come to some kind of, to come to an actual, rather than having people getting stomped on by horses, rather than truckers being attacked, rather than trucks being thrown away, there was actually a movement in place to resolve it and to with some politicians, and but they shut it down. Keith Wilson and the team behind Big Con Corp, they decided to shut it down. Why?
Mm-hmm.
because they saw money in it. They saw money in the swindle and the
I think that was
fundraising,
it
and
too.
that's what
Yeah. I think
yeah.
that had a
So
lot to do with it. Yeah.
they didn't want there to be an end to it because, like I say, they had all of the they all had a police liaison. They all knew exactly what was happening. They were all being told daily what the police wanted, what the police were doing. And it was
Yeah.
part of Chris and, well, I mean, everybody in the big Con Corp and Freedom Corp was to kind of toe the line because otherwise it becomes illegal. So when police came in and asked for help or whatever, they had to do it. But so they knew that these mass arrests were happening. They knew that there was this deal with the mayor to kettle the remaining trucks. They had so those arrests of Chris and Tamara, as far as I'm concerned, they were staged. They were out there looking to be arrested. Daniel Beaufort as well was out begging to be arrested. He's on video begging to be arrested.
Really?
So
He was
why didn't
begging to
they
be
just turn
arrested.
around and go home? Oh yeah, it's on video. Yeah.
Yeah, but he got charged.
Tamara too. She's on.
Um, not
Well, I mean, what they were trying to do was get. They had the police gave them a reasonable, I guess, option. Look, we just want everybody out of the red zone, effective now. So I mean, they were all told the day before that these arrests were coming. We just want you out of the red zone. If we have to, we'll pick you up and we'll take you outside the red zone. They did that with Daniel Beaufort. I think there was someone else too who they did that with. Was that not? I can't remember. Anyway,
there was a few of them.
Yeah, a bunch of people were picked up and taken outside. Anyway, so it turns out Tamara. I mean, at first, Tamara was out asking to be arrested. She was out again, same thing. She was begging to be arrested, and so she approached the cops. This is again all on video. This is on
I seen that. I seen that
video. So she went up and approached the cops, and they obviously phoned the detachment or whatever, and they said, "No, we got nothing on you. No, we're not interested." And she said, "Are you sure? You sure you don't want to?" I'm Tamara Leach, and no, you're free to go. We're not interested.
Wow.
And then she walks away, and then she says, "Oh, I got all dressed up for nothing." She was looking to get arrested. She was, and then when she finally did, she was hiding. Yeah, she was hiding around the corner, and so I mean, they're out there like canvassing for cop cars, looking to get arrested.
Yeah, unbelievable, eh? Just to get their name up there, and unbelievable, just unbelievable. To go to that extent.
Just now, what happened just recently, because I mean, it was really Keith Wilson who hijacked the convoy with Eva Chipiak. They were hired by the JCCF or brought in by the JCCF. JCCF wanted to or offered to represent everybody and to sort of help, but I think that the JCCF saw money in it. They saw a fundraising opportunity.
Yeah, I think
so. So it turns out, I think they got a little too in over their head. There was a little too many people, and they decided, well, we're going to pick our favorites and we're going to cut loose, whoever's left. And so they cut loose. They didn't want to have anything to do with BJ Dichter and Bridget Belton. So it turns out, once they decided who they wanted to pick on their team, and then they ran this fight club to bully and attack them and smear them, and that's why they've been going after Bridget and
Mad
BJ.
Dog is asking, what is JCCF?
Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms.
Yeah, the lawyers.
They're basically a lawyer cartel run by John Carpe. John Carpe, he's another swindler. John Carpe has a history. GCCF have been found guilty with overbilling their clients. John Carpe was, I think he actually lost his law license, or he was suspended, or I can't remember. But he had a private investigator follow a judge around, and they ended up finding out about it. So he ended up getting in a lot of trouble over that. So they've already had a history of a lot of snaky monkey business. There
Yeah.
was a school where some students were they resisted the vaccine requirements, and they hired the JCCF lawyers,
Mhm.
and they ended up losing in court. And JCCF raised tons of money, and then the students got on the hook for I think it was $140,000 in court costs, and
Mhm.
the JCCF just kind of turned their back on it and said, "Oh, it's not our problem. The students can pay for it." And then the judge got mad at them and said, "No, it's you. You guys are the ones that ran this, and you did this to your clients." So they wanted the JCCF to pay for it. There's a lot of shady
Wow.
business between JCCF and the Democracy Fund.
Hmm. Yeah. But in the end result was the hammer coming down on a bunch of innocent protesters that were misguided. And it was just shameful the last days of that whole event. I mean, it was just heartbreaking to see that um, go down the way it did, you know. I just feel that
Well,
it
what
was
should have
wrong.
happened? What should have happened was that when they knew that, or I mean, if they couldn't come to some kind of reasonable agreement with the politicians, and they saw that this was a losing situation, Bridget did this, BJ did this, and they both went to social media and said, "It's time for us to go home. I don't
Mhm.
want anybody, Bridget specifically, I don't want anyone to get hurt. They're going to be out here. They're going to start going after people. Please go home. Just go home. We did what we could." If
Mhm.
Tamara had and Chris and I mean Tom Morazzo as well, it was really Tom and Chris Barber who went out into the streets and started knocking on truck doors and told them to redirect along Wellington, and that's when the real crap started. That's when they really cracked the hammer down. Rather
Mhm.
than say, "Look, we don't want anyone to get hurt. Maybe we should just all turn around." They didn't want that to happen, though. They wanted to extend it for as long as possible. Even Tamara, when she had the handcuffs being put on, she was still hold the line,
Yeah.
hold the line. I mean, that's what they're after, was to get people to. The truckers were just the useful idiots, along with all the protesters on the streets,
Mhm.
and I mean, a lot of other people who got involved. A lot of, I mean, there was so many social media influencers who saw money in this, I think, and they went to Ottawa looking to pad their own pockets, and so anyway.
Wow, it was unbelievable. It was quite the ordeal, though. Quite the ordeal, indeed. I mean, it was a big event. I mean, let's not, you know, forget that. I mean, it was huge. I mean, a lot of people were very upset with the government's mandates and the way that they were pushing it and the whole thing. It was just a disaster for Canada. And understandably, a lot of people got upset. Okay. But then these so-called leaders were not really leaders. They were more like infiltrators into the whole thing to score a whole bunch of money, is what it looks like to me, you know. So they like you say, they pushed it as much as they could just to keep it going and get everybody's hopes up. And then finally the hammer comes down and it was a disaster, you know, is what I see, you know. And I think the lawyers, they played a good little part in it too, because they were making a lot of money too. I mean, there's lots of money to go around if you're, you know, up in that room there with your hands around the money kind of thing. It was unbelievable.
Well, still, like, I think that the real heroes are not Chris and Tamara. They're two
No, I don't
people.
think so either.
The real
I don't
heroes
think so
were
either.
everybody who resisted government. I I was making videos back in the early days of COVID, saying that this was all BS. I wasn't saying that COVID was itself was BS, but the psyop and the propaganda and the fear porn. And once I saw plastic shields being put up in stores, once I used to work security for hospitals, I was trained in biological warfare in the military. Um, I knew that face diapers weren't going to stop
Yeah.
anything if we were under a real life actual pandemic. You're just going to have to keep yourself healthy. I didn't. I mean, at first, I mean, I didn't even believe that COVID was real. I thought that this was some kind of a hoax until I got it. And I mean, I was only really sick for 2 days. Um, I was back to where I got COVID on a Friday, and I was back to work on Monday. And we had a rule at our job that you had to have 10 days off, mandatory. And
Mm.
I called my boss. I said, I'm sick, but I feel like enough to, okay, well, then come in. Okay.
Mm.
So, meanwhile, I literally just got over influenza. I've been sick for the last 2 months. And before that, I had pneumonia, which I caught early in January. I was sick with that with 2 months. And so, I mean, because I have lung disease, my lungs are a little more susceptible and it's harder to get rid of it or whatever. So, I mean, they were saying that with COVID too. I mean, people that had any comorbidities, people that had health problems, it's going to be a bigger challenge to get over. So that was the case with me with pneumonia and influenza. So yeah, for some people it was very serious, but for I think a lot of people got it and had no idea that they got it. It was very mild compared to other diseases.
Yeah, but
So
they
as far
every day the CBC was bringing this out every day. I forget exactly how long they did that for, but it was for an extensive period of time. Every day they're coming out gaslighting people, and the whole 9 yards. I mean, it was quite a situation. I mean, shutting down businesses and telling people to not even have Christmas with your family. I mean, it was horrendous what they did with it. It was crazy, just absolutely crazy. And then firing people, letting people go if they didn't take this horrendous jab that was killing people. I mean, we find out now today. I mean, earlier on that these jabs were no benefit, and they were harming a lot of people. So this was a very bad situation that the government put the people into. And then so you had quite a few people take to the streets and go with the convoy and wanted to stand up against the government. But the leaders were not proper leaders. It was more like they seemed to be in it for the money more so than sitting down with government officials and talking with them or anything like that. I don't think they ever did sit down with any government officials. Um, so it was a complete fiasco when it come down to it. You know. So yeah,
yeah, I mean
it
that
was
was
terrible.
my favorite part of that was really my favorite part of the convoy was the original the going there was seeing all the trucks on the highways, was seeing everybody on the overpasses and on the sides of the roads waving. And that's when I saw, like, kind of for the first time in a long time, an actual unity of people. But
Yeah,
when it got to Ottawa, that's when it started to get a little ugly. And once I saw people honking horns, and then that's when I'm like, okay, I'm out of this. I don't
yeah,
support any of this monkey business because you're now affecting other people. You're affecting other people that are, people that live, it can really kind of amount to torture. Just think if there was a semi truck outside of your home honking at all hours and, some of the drivers got a little too obnoxious and and two, it was becoming difficult for people to get around, and so there was, you got to admit, like, there was some of that too. And I don't think that anybody should have been negatively affected. um, I think it's too bad how they weren't able to come to some kind of a reasonable end to it within a couple of weeks. And
mm,
again, like, there never should have been or a fundraiser. There never should have
mm,
been multiple fundraisers. Keep in mind, like, Tamara was saying that she had what did she say at the POAC, that I think she said something like she was expecting that maybe she could handle like $20,000 of fundraising. That maybe
mm,
she could handle about that much money. but she had no intention or no. She didn't expect for the for it to become $12 million with the GoFundMe. Well, then, if you didn't expect that much, why did you start a second GoFundMe? Why were you accepting money into your e-transfers? Her e-transfer was almost $500,000. People completely ignore that the e-transfer situation is huge, because there was still money in there when they seized the bank account. Where's that money going to go? And again, like she said, that there was this committee that was going to oversee the funding. Whatever happened to that? She ended up axing this committee, and then she admitted at the POAC that when she spent, what was it? They spent $70,000 for a chartered plane to take the JCCF. There was the two TBOF operatives. There was the two JCCF lawyers. There was Chad Eros, the accountant, and there was Tamara's then husband, to all go to Ottawa. So they used $70,000 of trucker donations for a private plane, for a chartered plane. Private meaning it was just them on it. It wasn't Air Canada. That's trucker donations. That should, me coming from a loss prevention and fraud background, once you see people dipping into the till and scooping out money and using it for other things, Tamara said in black and white, you can go see it now on their Facebook page. All money is going to truckers. We're not taking any of this money. We're not using any of it. And she lied. She lied to everybody. And see people still thinking these people are heroes is just crazy to me. People need to wake up and cannot follow these influencers, social media influencers, political operatives, people that are working. Tamara is she's a Greta Thunberg for the oil and gas industry. So people need to be careful and start thinking for themselves and not sucking on the toes of these grifters.
Yeah, I agree. Danny, it's been a slice, my friend. I think we're just about getting to that time. Is there any last words you want to put out there to the audience?
Well, I have a page on Facebook called Freedom Accountability. Everybody's welcome to come in there. The only thing is that my page is just about the grifters, and it's about kind of showing some accountability, or at minimum, showing what these people are really about. So everyone's welcome to come and check out my page. And I think it's great if people stick up for themselves, and you have to hold government accountable. I was with PPC for 4 years, and I left December of 2023. I don't trust any of these politicians. I don't, if I were to vote tomorrow, I would vote for the Conservatives and really hold their feet to the fire. And I believe in actually going to meet your Conservative representative, talking to them. And so BJ's chiming in there. Hey, BJ. BJ's great. We're friends. I've got to meet BJ. So same with Bridget. I really like and support BJ and Bridget. And there were a lot of good people that were involved in this thing, but it's a bigger important thing to realize what really went down and how it was hijacked, how it was subverted, and how these political operatives work. And they're not your friends, and they were just out to enrich themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Danny, thank you so much for coming in. I'll do my last little say there, and I appreciate you coming in, giving us a little insight to your perspective with this. I think we opened up a few jars. A little bit more awareness, and I think that's what we needed. A little more awareness of who's who in the zoo, right?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on.
You're more than welcome, Danny. Thanks for coming in. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, bye-bye now. That was Danny Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, as you see, money has a way of corrupting people. And it may have been a fantastic event, but when everything was all said and done, it didn't turn out so good for the protesters. So that's what happened. Now, the last show what we're going to be doing, Bridget herself is going to be in on the broadcast. The original lady that started the convoy, it wasn't Tamara Leach, okay, or Chris Barber. It was Bridget. And they, even Rebel Media paints Tamara and them out to be the big heroes of the day, when in fact they're not really heroes. And that was the whole point of me doing a 4-part series, to enlighten the public that there's more to this than meets the eye. And me, for one, was let down severely when the cops came out with the hammer on protesters, which is something that should never have happened. I think that that was a big disappointment. But anyways, I had my daughter, I guess most of you heard, my daughter gave birth to a baby girl. And I want to take a minute to thank all of you for your your kind words and your congratulations. And I don't even have cigars, to be honest with you. Actually, that's Eric's job, I think. The father, that's his job, to hand out cigars, I think. So I feel okay. But yeah, she's doing well, and the baby's doing well. And I'm very happy that it all turned out well for her. She's doing quite well. So I just wanted to let you all know that little update. And I'm a grandfather, so I mean, I'm really starting to feel my age in this department, and it is what it is, right? So, but again, I want to thank you for your condolences. I mean, your congratulations and stuff like that. It was very heartwarming. The other side of the coin again is don't forget about the ostriches. The ostriches are still in my view. Also, what has come up is Elliot losing his property, and we find out a lot of people have been losing their property. So we're looking into that. I think it's outrageous. You put all this money into this, and you miss a payment or two, and they want to foreclose on you. So we're going to be looking into a bit of that. I think maybe we'll try and get Elliot in on one of the shows to explain what happened. It's very unbelievable what's going on in our country. And yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is a mouthful. I think we'll give it our another song here. I mean, our deal here. And I want to thank you for joining us. And don't forget, I am taking e-transfers to support the broadcast. It costs money to do this. I am looking for your support, and I appreciate your support. You can send out in an e-transfer to ruddybruce@gmail.com to help support the broadcast, if you can do that. So far, it's my money. But I enjoy doing it. I enjoy reaching out to the public. I enjoy giving you a different perspective to what's going on in our country. And being a part of the movement for over 10 years now, it's you've all become sort of family to me. And and it's very important that we stay informed as much as possible, and look out for ourselves as well as each other. I think it's very important in these times coming up. So I appreciate all of you coming in, and we'll give it another one. Oh.
Hello there. Thank you for joining us. This is the Ruddi Bruce broadcast. You focus on the truth, I focus on the facts. People of Canada, your voice will speak a million strong. If we come together and fight what's going on, we got homeless people living in tents. Be compassionate, do not judge, because 200,000 of us are using food banks. Where's the pride? Where's the pride? Where's our money we slave for? They cover it up. The working man is living poor. Ruddi has true leadership, speaking for the ones who are tired of this shit. Make the government officials get a grip, or everyone loses the respect. Something's wrong, open your eyes. They tell us lies, you're blinded to this and more. When your lawn united, we stand divided, we fall. The time will come, the day is near, we will all march. So listen with your ears, we are not zombies or fresh meat. Let's grind up the government, make compost for the maple trees. Let's avenge the deaths of the ones who have fallen. Coronavirus, opioid, we're still trying. They thought they got away scot-free. We will get the last laugh, just wait and see. These talks we had on the broadcast will provide the guide. Let's do it fast. Taxpayers believe we live strong and free. Everyone does. Are you kidding me? Round of applause to you and yours for tuning in. We're opening doors. This is the real movement. People, let's stand up, Canada, before we lose. Just wait and see. These talks we have on the broadcast will provide the guide. Let's do it fast. Taxpayers believe we live strong and free. Everyone does. Are you kidding me? Applause to you and yours for tuning in. We're opening doors. This is the real movement. People that stand up Canada before we lose it.
There you have it. Also, good reminder. Sean, you reminded me. Get out there and vote, guys. Get them Conservative Party in there. Now, I'm not one for saying all these government politicians are fair and all that kind of stuff, but we got to get the Liberals out of office. We need a majority Conservative government here to help try and see if they can straighten this shit out. So keep your fingers crossed. Again, thank you for your congratulations on my daughter. I'm pretty proud of her. So anyway, again, if you can do an e-transfer to help out the broadcast, support the broadcast, it's ruddibruce@gmail.com. And I appreciate your support. Otherwise, guys, I'm just getting the word out there. So, next broadcast, next Friday, 6 o'clock. Yes, we're going to have Bridget on here, and I hope everything will go well because, as you know, she is a trucker. And we've really got to put our heads together on getting her on here because she is working, and it's going to be a feat to get her on here. So stay tuned, guys. The original starter of the convoy, okay, was not Tamara Leach, okay, it was Bridget. She's going to be on next Friday. I hope. I hope everything goes well. Okay, guys, that's it for the show and for today. I want to thank you again for joining. I really appreciate you coming in and taking part in being there. It means a lot to me, and also others. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I will bid you good day. I hope everybody's doing well, and let's get them conservatives in there. Get out and vote. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, as I say, I'm just getting the word out there. I'll see you next Friday, 6 o'clock.